afternoon, good morning, or good evening. Hello, everyone. It's me, Matt, from the Psychic Explorer. I hope you're well. I am sat in my back bedroom and I am recording on the day after my birthday. Yes, your host is now 41 years of age, and the older I get, the more I feel I am fitting into my natural age. You know, I've always felt old. I've always felt older, rather, should I say. When I was a kid, my mum used to say to me, "You don't like other children." She was completely right. I didn't. And it was a really lovely day, actually. My other half took the day off with me, and I wanted a very cultural day. I wanted to go to a museum. I wanted to do a tour of a medieval street here in Norwich, where Norwich is the nearest city that we live near, or the largest town that we live near. And then he took me out for a really beautiful dinner at a place called the Gunton Arms. If anybody is in Norfolk, you will have heard of the Gunton Arms, and they have this incredible grill. And just over the grill is this huge skull and antlers, and I mean huge. I'm talking like 3-4 meters wide, just ginormous. I had to ask. I said to the waitress, I said, "I know you must get asked this all the time." And she laughed and she looked at the skull behind her and she said, "You want to know more about that?" I said, "What is it? Where is it from?" She said, "It's an elk skull." Because the hotel and the restaurant is on the grounds of a deer park, I just presumed it was a massive deer. But no, she looked at it and she said, "Well, it's an elk skull, and it was found in an Irish peat bog, which is why it's so well preserved, and it's over 10,000 years old." Why it's not in a museum and why it is over a grill in some pub in Norfolk, I have no idea. But it was very impressive, and the meal was good too. So I'm going to sing myself happy birthday to me and all that malarkey. No, I'm not one to celebrate my birthday, but yeah, it was my birthday. So I am now 1 year older, apparently 1 year wiser than I was the last time you spoke to me. But onward we step on this march of life. And I guess as I sit with this podcast, with these episodes that I am putting out, I suppose I want to revisit my journey a little bit more. If you will indulge me to just revisit one of the parts of my journey. And that journey is my very first platform event. Now, for those who don't know, a platform event is when you go to a service or a gathering and you stand up in front of a group of people and you try and tap into the energies and you try and bring forward a loved one for people within the audience. At the time of recording, I've done a few of these now. In fact, I think I was on about five I think I've done now, where I go to a service and I stand up and I bring through whoever wants to be brought through to a loved one who's in the audience. But I've not yet spoken about my very first one. So I thought I'd take the opportunity, and again, if you'll indulge me to talk about my experience, then I will talk about the first time that I did platform. The first time I did platform was a complete surprise. It was not planned in the slightest. It was a weekend, and I think I'd gone out on a Saturday evening to see some friends. I wasn't hungover when I woke up on a Sunday, but for me, Sunday mornings are luxurious. They should be spent in bed. They should be lying in bed and catching up on sleep. And Sunday mornings are my mornings when I have breakfast in bed made by my other half. I always get up before him every other morning or every morning in the week apart from Sundays, and I make him his breakfast and then we go to work. But Sundays are my mornings where I am made breakfast, which I really look forward to. So I'm laying in bed this particular Sunday morning and I noticed that I have a WhatsApp message on my phone. And it was Nicola, who you have heard from, who was in the episode about circles a few months back now. And this is what she had to say.
Good morning, Matt. Well, I am just putting it out there, and it is quite late in the day. which actually is a rather strange expression right now, as it's actually early on a Sunday. But I have just been asked by the centre I'm working for this evening if I would like to bring a student with me. I'll make a pause while you now run around in circles, deciding whether you'd like to be sick or not with just the thought of it. But would you like the experience? Why not accept the challenge? Bye.
Sick? Sick was not the word. I promise you now, I went cold, I went numb, I went clammy. Oh, the thought of the memory of that morning just now still fills me with borderline revulsion. I couldn't quite believe what I was being asked because, as you will very well know, in my head, I was just nowhere near ready. Surely, in my mind, I was still just exploring this, but Nicola had reached out to me with enough confidence in me that she was willing to take me to an event that she was conducting to have me practice in front of a room full of strangers. When I look back on that morning, I remember my other half coming up, bringing me breakfast and saying to me, "You all right?" And I said, "No." And I replayed the message to him, whereas my mind was, "I can't possibly do this. What on earth is she thinking?" He said to me, "Well, she clearly trusts that you can do this. So are you going to do it?" And there was a moment when I thought, I don't want to. Actually, that moment stayed with me the whole day. But there was another moment or another thought that entered my mind. I thought, if I don't do this now, I don't think I'm ever going to do it. And I've never been one to shy away from challenging myself or trying new things. And I thought, you know what? I had just got to put my faith in whatever is out there that I can just do this. When Teresa Caputo looks back on her development in her podcast, she often tells the story that she sat down and she had a conversation with God or whoever, and she said, "If you open the doors, I will walk through them." And I thought, this is my door moment. This is my version of someone opening a door, and all I have to do is step through it. So I messaged her and said, "Can I speak with you?" And she said, "Yep." So I called her and I said, "Yes." I said, "Yep, I will do it. I don't want to do it." I made that very clear. I don't want to do it, but I will do it. And thank you so much for having faith in me. That whole day was a bit of a blur. I don't really know what I did. I know I was just in my head the whole time. I thought, should I meditate? Should I not? Should I just wait till later on to meditate? Honestly, I just felt physically sick. I thought, I kept walking around saying, "Oh God," and making these noises just want to throw up, just want to vomit. This doesn't feel. This is what it's supposed to feel like to do this every single time. There's no way I want to do this as a regular thing. But I just had to have faith that it was going to be okay. It was going to work out all right. I was so in my head about getting up there in front of 30, 40, how many people it was going to be, and nothing happening. And what were they going to think? It wasn't even a case of what was Nicola going to think? What were they going to think of Nicola for bringing this loser along with her who thought he had this ability, but when he got up and stood in front of these people, nothing happened, or he was just making it all up. That was it. That was, if I felt something and I said it, but no one could take it. And everyone thinking, I'm just making this up. That is the fear I had. That fear of what are they going to think of me? And I say again, it wasn't even a case of what Nicola was going to think of me, because, I'd had these conversations with her previously. I'd said, I don't know if this is all in my head. And I remember she said to me, "Matt, you are now at a stage where you are doing this. You are at a level, but You have to decide whether or not you want to do it. You have to decide whether or not it's real. And if you don't think it is, then you need to step back from it. If you think it is, then we'll continue. And I always remember that. I always remember that conversation with her. It was just something you said in passing, but to me it had so much impact, that phrase of the only person standing in your way is you. And if you're going to believe, then you've got to believe in it. So what I spent the rest of that day doing, I could not tell you. Probably driving my other half absolutely crazy with me worrying about what ifs and all this sort of stuff that was going through my mind. But she arranged to collect me that evening, and the time came, and I had meditated beforehand. And we drove to this little coastal town where this village hall had been set up for a platform event. I walked in, and the person who was running this centre, so you would have heard in Nicola's WhatsApp message say that she was serving a centre. I don't know what it's like in other parts of the world, but in the UK, centres are, I guess you could call them sort of our versions of churches. I don't like to call them that because they're not churches, but they're just a group of people who meet on a regular basis at a regular place where they have these events, where they invite other mediums, or they have resident mediums come in and they give addresses, they give prayers, they give messages. Sometimes there's music, sometimes there's not. And it does sound all very happy-clappy, and I have to admit, it's not something I still feel very comfortable with. When I do these things, I do tend to mime the songs because I don't feel comfortable singing the songs live. We pulled up to this village hall, and I think we were the first people to arrive. So we walked in, and we were greeted by the woman who ran this particular centre, and she showed us into a little side room, and we just sat. Nicola reminded me that she understood the sick feeling that I was feeling at that time, the panic, the feeling of just wanting to steal her keys, run out the door, and just drive back home. But instead, we just sat in quiet meditation. Now, if I'm honest, did I meditate? Absolutely not. I could not even contemplate being that calm at that time. I was a tangled mass of nerves. And before we left that side room to go into the main room, she stopped and said, "Your mum's here, and I feel like I just want to give you a big hug from her." And she gave me a huge hug. And with that, we walked out into this hall. Now, there were about 30 or so people waiting in this hall, and we were taken to the front where we sat down and faced these people. I tend to have I wouldn't necessarily say a flamboyant wardrobe, but it's certainly colourful. I've got a few items in there which I really like wearing. My other half is not so certain on some of my choices of clothing, but I made sure that I wore something that was engaging, that was smart, and was going to either command or distract the attention if I was going to go sideways. And as I sat at the front of this hall, the people in the front row were talking to me and saying, "Oh, I like your trousers," or I like your jacket. I can't remember what I was wearing. I've got a feeling I was wearing like a green and gold flowery sort of suit jacket, and it sounds horrendous, but I really quite like it. It's really quite nice. Every time I wear it, I always get nice compliments. And I was just trying to settle my nerves, and bless them, all the people in the audience who were engaging with me were trying to calm me as well, saying, "Don't worry, you'll be fine. If nothing comes through, it's not a problem. You know, this is just your first time. You should be really proud that you're just doing this and you're here." And I was really proud that weeks before I was doubting my own sanity, doubting that any of this was real. And here I was taking the next step because someone had believed in me enough that when I delivered these messages, they rang true for people. They touched people in a way that moved them to tears, that helped them move forward in their lives. And I hope I'm not putting too much meaning into that. But for me, it was important to get my buzzword from episode 2, the overused buzzword, but to get that validation that what I was saying was touching people, was true for people. If I'm absolutely honest with you, my dear, dear listeners, the rest of that evening was a bit of a blur. It was autumn last year. In fact, I think it was even earlier than that. It was late summer last year. I remember getting up and I remember Nicola delivering her address, and she delivered her first message. I think she even delivered a second message, and then she said, right, Matt, do you want to give it a go? And I stood up and I just went into autopilot. I just thought, right, I just got to talk, and I spoke from my heart. I tried to get the audience to engage with me, to be on my side by cracking a couple of jokes. And I suppose as well by pre-warning them that this was my first time doing this in front of an audience this size, and to be gentle with me if nothing happened. But it did. I don't remember the messages I delivered, but I remember being drawn to someone and giving them the description of the person I felt was coming through, and they were saying, yes, I can take that. Yes, I understand what you're saying. And suddenly within me, I was like, oh, this is happening. Oh God, this is working. This isn't just happening in the circle that I go to. This isn't just accepted by people who already believe in it. I mean, yes, these people did believe in this stuff, but these were people I'd never met before. These are people I've never seen in my life. And I was still able to tell them things about their loved one, who I was feeling, still able to tell them things about their lives that they were going through. And they were able to confirm that what I was saying was resonating with them. I suppose as I sit here now, doing this for a while now, I want to say helping, but I think that shows my development. Now when I do this, I feel that it is important that you do help people through their grief or help people in their day-to-day life. Back then, if I'm honest with myself, during that first service, when I got up and stood up in front of these people, I was just grateful that what I was saying was being validated, was being recognized by people. Did I do a perfect job? Absolutely not, no. Did I drop the psychic? Yes, I did. And it's something that I didn't realize I did until I got home that evening. Nicola dropped me off home. We were talking about it the whole night. And I remember coming back in the car and I said, I think I understand that I just got to enjoy it. I've got to try to take that expectation off my shoulders. It's not mine to own. It's not mine to have. Instead, I just got to try and enjoy what I do, enjoy the readings that I give, enjoy the response that I get back. And that's it. I remember saying to her, just repeating, this is really exciting. This is really exciting because that validation, again, I'm sorry to reuse that word over and over, but the validation I was getting from the audience was telling me, okay, these images you're seeing in your mind, these feelings you are having in your heart, these stories that are just coming out of your mouth, they are coming from somewhere. And to hold on to that, to have faith that that is helping people, that is coming from somewhere from beyond my own imagination. I suppose the moral of the story, dear listeners, is that when opportunity comes knocking, accept it, take it, grab hold of it with both arms. Even if the opportunity is not seen as opportunity, even if the opportunity is seen as something terrifying, something scary, something you don't want to do, get comfortable with being uncomfortable. That, I think, is what I have learned from that experience. I'll forever be grateful to Nicola for pushing me, for thinking of me, for inviting me to that centre, that service. She didn't have to, but she did. And it really pushed me along. And like I say, now I've been invited to 4 or 5 of those events. And actually, in January, Nicola has asked me to hold an entire service by myself. So that'll be another one. That'll be another one where I don't wear white underwear. Sorry for being too graphic there. But yeah, it's a progression, isn't it? It really is a progression. And when we as psychics and mediums say that we are developing. We really are developing. But I think it's very easy to forget that development means that we need to put one foot in front of the other. And sometimes we don't know where the floor is when we put that foot down. When we move forward, we can't always see where that foot is being placed. And we have to have faith that wherever that foot lands is going to take us to somewhere better, one way or another. So my lovely, lovely listeners, I'm going to leave that story there. It's just a short one for you today to have a think about. I'd love to hear how you have developed. Have you experienced any moments in your development, in your life, that have pushed you? Moments in your path where you haven't necessarily chosen to do something, but an opportunity has come up and you chose to take it. You chose to dive off of that diving board. And where did that take you? Where are you now? I'd love to hear from you. You can find me on Instagram, Facebook, Threads, and now TikTok. Yes, TikTok, you heard me correctly. I'm not going to be twerking or doing the ice bucket challenge or anything trendy, and you'll be grateful to hear. But it's just another platform for me to reach more people, to help more people. But if you're on that, then give us a shout, the.psychic.explorer. The next episode that I have in store for you is a guest episode. And this guest episode features the lovely Judy Wayman. Judy is here to talk about the power of words as mediums and psychics. And you know what? Not even that, just people. Words have so much impact on how they affect other people. So I really wanted to talk to Judy about how she uses words. Judy is a celebrant here in Norfolk. She uses words daily to tell other people's stories. So I will love you and leave you with a quick preview of the next episode, and that's coming out in 2 weeks' time. So if you haven't already, make sure you are subscribed to this podcast on whatever platform you are listening on, so that when the new episode drops, it goes straight into your inbox or downloads automatically. If you even have a spare 30 seconds, a comment or even a rating of this podcast, again on whatever platform you are using to listen to this on, would mean so much to me and will just promote this podcast a little bit more and hopefully get a bit more reach so that more people can be helped, maybe, by my story. If you haven't got the time, trust me, I get it, that's absolutely fine. But before I say my goodbyes, I will leave you with this quick preview of Judy's episode in 2 weeks' time.
She was railing against one of the consultants who could be quite cutting. She said to me, "Words are like fire, they destroy." Now, I think that's from the Bible, but I thought about that for a long time and I saw the other side of it, that words can be beautiful, they can be uplifting, they can be transformative. And that really set me on that path.
Guys, I will love you and leave you. Thank you so much for listening to yet another episode. We are soon going to be in autumn, my favorite time of year. I cannot wait for the days to get shorter and for the nights to get longer. I just love it. The autumnal season is certainly my favorite time of year. So yes, sending you all my love, people. Take care. Bye.